Getting them to fit just right, it can be a challenge, right? Fortunately, there are some tried and true techniques that I use that you can use to make your vocals sit perfectly in a track. Now, in this video, we'll look at five of my top tips for making your vocals sit best in the track. So just grab your headphones, let's get to work. So first of all, number one is you want to compress the vocals. Now, compressing the vocals is one of the most important steps when it comes to mixing a track. Now, a compressor allows you to control the dynamic range. It's the difference between the loudest and the softest parts of your vocal performance. So this helps bring out the subtle little sounds in your performance that would otherwise be lost. It can also help even out and level out the unwanted peaks and the dips in your volume. Sometimes you might go high and sometimes you might go low in volume, and if you have the volume too low, then you won't hear the low parts, and if you have it too high, then you won't hear the high parts. Okay, so when compressing vocals, you want to aim for the average gain reduction of a -3 decibels or lower, and keep an eye close on the meter so you're not over compressing. Okay, next is you want to use an EQ to carve out space for your vocals in the beat. So when you're adding vocals to a mix, it's important to make sure that you have enough room for your vocals to shine through so that your vocals aren't competing with other elements of the track, like the bass, like the synth, like the snare, right? Your vocals needs its own lane. Okay, if you think about in athletics, when you have like a 100-meter race, right? Usain Bolt style, you have 6 lanes, 6 racers, right? And each of those lanes, if you imagine it as music, needs to have a snare in one lane, your bass in another, your kick in another, but your vocals needs to have its own lane so that it can run its own race. And one of the best ways to do this is by using equalizations and cutting unwanted frequencies from your vocals, but also from the beat mix as well. So if you're mixing the entire beat and you're getting your music engineer and your sound engineer to mix the entire beat, find a part of the beat that your vocals sit best in and reduce it with an EQ. Just reduce that part of the beat, and then that will allow your vocals to shine through a little bit more, okay? And it will allow it to not, your vocals won't sound as muddled or cluttered. Next is you want to add reverb for depth and dimension. What do I mean by depth and dimension? So in addition to the best vocal mixing tips for getting your vocals to sit in the mix, is reverb, but also adding reverb is another great way to get your vocals just more subtly giving it that sense of space and that sense of sound, right? So it can really open up your vocals, allowing it to sit more naturally in the mix. Okay, I was mixing a record yesterday and the beat was very 50 Cent-ish, the instrumental was very 50 Cent-ish, early 2000, boom 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 boom. It had that sense, and it had no reverb on the beat. So by adding reverb to the vocals, it allowed the vocals to open up. Whereas when you have a instrumental that is very OVO maybe sound, watery, airy, like pads, very reverbish and echoish, then you want to make sure, you want to do the opposite with your vocals. You want to make them dry and not have a lot of reverb. Does that make sense? So when the instrumental has a lot of reverb in it and it's airy and watery, then you want to dry out your vocal mix. But if your beat is quite dry, then you want to add reverb to your vocal mix so that it's not clashing. You don't want vocals and beats to be too reverbish, okay? And then next, we want to go for automating the volume for punch and dynamics. Now, automation is another essential tool that I use when mixing vocal tracks. Automation basically allows you to adjust the levels of the dynamics throughout the song, giving each part its unique touch while still keeping everything balanced, right? You don't want to put reverb on the entire track or the entire verse because you might not want reverb or delay on your entire verse. You might just want it on one word. That is where you use automation so that when it comes up to that one word in the song, automation kicks in, gives that word a reverb, and then it's gone again, okay? So you can just use automation to add punchy moments where you need it and take them away just to emphasize your lyrics and stuff like that. Next, you want to use stereo widening to create width. Now, stereo widening can confuse some people. So it's just basically using width and depth to mix and spread elements across the channels left and right, right? Because you've got in your speakers, you've got a left side and you've got a right side. So this technique works especially well when you're trying to give both sides of the stereo and more presence without making it sound weird. Okay, now mixing vocals correctly can bring energy into your production, but it always isn't always right, and it always isn't always easy doing it yourself. So these are some techniques that you can offer and maybe suggest to your mixing engineer to, you know, work into their mixes if they're mixing your stuff XYZ, right? If you're working with me, I'm using this stuff already, and if you do want to work with me in the future, definitely hit me up in the comments below or send me an email, and I would love to master your vocals for you. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've worked with some of the best in the game: 50 Cent, Universal Music, Hyundai, Apple Music, Marcus Houston, Skepta, Chipmunk. I worked with a ton of international artists, mixing, mastering, vocaling and stuff like that. So if you are interested in getting your vocals mixed by myself, then feel free to drop me an email or drop a comment below and just saying I want to work with you, and then we can continue the conversation outside YouTube or wherever else you're seeing this. So I hope you got value from this video. This video is how to make your vocals sit more better in the mix. Give this video a like and subscribe if you got value, and I will definitely see you in the next video. Take care.